it is, the latest addition to the Ososik fleet. I'm sure a lot of you probably already knew this was going to happen. It was bound to happen. If you've been following me, you know that I went to the reveal that Honda did. So it was a huge honor there. And honestly, ever since that day, I already knew that this is the car I wanted to get. I was debating on keeping the SI, but I already have the 10 gen still, so that's enough to prove everything. But this is it. Why did I choose white? Well, why not? And I can wrap it. I gotta get in the first look. First things first, put this on our dyno, see how much power it makes. We already know how much power it makes because we did Dustin Williams FL5. He did have an PR intercooler though, but we'll see what it does with like 0 miles. And we'll break it in on the dyno. Can't wait till tuning is available for this stuff, but it's gonna happen. This is already a pre-blended E40 mix that is going in. So Daniel just filled up the tank with pre-blended E40. We went to the gas station and we just did the calculated way of blending the E40 to E40 mix. Right now the car is still 100% stock, aside from the jailbreak for the FlashPro tuning. And we don't know exactly how much ethanol would be in there, which is why we pre-blended it. And typically, at least with the sensor installed, you'll be able to see, because your tank still has fuel in it. Like, even though it shows that you have 0 bars left, your car still has fuel. But there's one thing we did to know for sure that this car had no more gas in it.
That we don't recommend you doing is we ran the car until it shut off.
Literally. So like, we do not recommend that though. Do not do that.
That's not in the user manual.
And when we break it, if and when we do break it, well, we fix it. It's that simple. And what's more serious is the development and just getting things done. Now I am going to see if we could eventually just put a ethanol sensor on there, not to do because the software doesn't support that yet, but really just to show us how much ethanol is in it, and probably use like the cell phone app to view that. So it won't do any tuning changes, but it'll at least show us how much ethanol is in there. But we have forum posts about all of this that will either are up by the time you watch this or will be up that will explain a lot of this stuff. But for now, it's pre-blended. E40 is typically what the FKA guys would do, so we're gonna do that for the FL5. We already made some great numbers on pump gas. And now it's time to see what this thing does with some ethanol in it. And then here's another just quick little tip too. You don't have to have a flex fuel kit to run ethanol or any type of fuel. This is kind of like a traditional way that a lot of car guys used to do. Back then I used to have 3 different maps for my S2000. I used to have a 91 map, I had an E85 map, and then I had a race gas map. The only thing you have to always be sure is make sure your fuel tank is drained completely before you start uploading the maps that have way more power. But this one's almost done. This is going to be like the first pull on what Daniel kind of just preset for an E40 blend. So it'll be a couple pulls and see how much power we could extract from it.
Just scaled the fuel first for the first test. Scaled it up.
Oh,
See what that does, and then we'll do timing, boost, all that stuff.
To really add the more power.
Yeah.
We're just going to drive around in the Type R. It currently still has the ethanol blend. Pretty much it's just where we left it off at on our Mustang Dyno at the Ososik eShop. And even though Daniel, kind of dialed in the tune with like the drivability on the dyno, we're gonna continue to just see how everything acts and how everything feels. You can already guess first and second year are probably going to be pointless, especially because it still has the stock tires on. So this car is still 100% stock, aside from the Hondata FlashPro, and we just poured some ethanol in there. We should be around the E40, but after this we'll try to see if we can connect the PRL flex fuel kit on there, and then at least see through the phone, like the mobile app, how much ethanol is running through here. Now, the software does not currently support flex fuel kits, but that doesn't mean we can't connect the sensors just to see how much ethanol is in the gas of this Type R. For those of you just watching, like, there's still a lot of SI content that can come out with, and also some stuff that are going to be announced. Just because I got rid of the car does not mean myself or the team will not support it. We're going to have still full force support the 1.5 liters. We still have the two 10-gen SIs, the drag one and the time attack style one, which is like a street version. It still drives just like stock, really. Just it has more power to it now, right? If I wanted to pass up a car like I just did, it's pretty much instant. It's not even on R mode. And the way we tuned it for now is just whether it's in comfort, sport, or R mode, all the power is in there all the time. Me personally, that's how I prefer it, because I don't get caught slipping, you know what I mean? That just makes it easier, in my opinion. It is cool that you have the ability to, dial back the tune in certain modes, but again, I drive the same everywhere. If I'm not racing, I'm not on it. So it's just as simple as that. So you can see second gear just spins no matter what. First gear is even worse. When Daniel gets here, we'll start to really dial in the Hondata traction control with the tunes, and then that way when Powermetric comes out with like a stage 1 tune for whether it's pump gas or even eventually when Hondata supports flex fuel, we'll have our own traction control settings within those tunes, so that with the additional power, even if you're on a stock tire, it'll grip. it truly is not all about power. It's about overall performance and what you're doing in your vehicle to get the most out of it. You know, there's a lot of guys who think just, well, make high horsepower, numbers, but one, dynos are different, and two, conditions will affect the peak horsepower numbers, and then three, at the end of the day, what Daniel and I always say is the only times that really matter are your track times. So, you know, there's no point in making, for example, 1,000 horsepower on an all-weather tire. Like, you're just going to spin every single gear, and this isn't to that extreme, but you could clearly see just first and second gear literally useless in this car at the moment. But the minute I put a better tire on here, or just dial in Hondata's traction control, it's going to get up and go and keep its momentum. So, you know, spinning ain't winning. If you haven't heard that term, I suggest you familiarize yourself with it, because it's a real thing. You know, going on the road course and going to what this car was made for. If you're racing against cars that have more horsepower, it doesn't mean you're automatically going to lose. There's driver mod, and then there's just how well the car performs, and that's what I'm really excited with this build, because this is going to be a road course car doing time attack, and I know it's opposite of drag racing. It's not all about high horsepower numbers. It's about making great power, making sure it sticks to the ground, and making sure the car handles and the power is where it needs to be at any given moment. That's why tuning is very important, and just setting up the car is also very important. You have to do it for the best of what it is you're trying to do. But, so yeah, look at that. Car makes more power than stock, and it's slower, according to the Draggy, in the quarter-mile times, based off of what they claim on the brochure. I'm not surprised. If you're surprised, well, I think you need to learn a little bit more.